Hey everybody, I'm Karsten.
And I'm Brianne.
And today we're going to be taking a look at the top 10 commander cards from Khans of Tarkir.
Khans of Tarkir has a lot of fantastic offerings for multicolored decks. While monocolored decks weren't left in the cold, this is definitely a set for commander players who prefer multiple colors in their decks.
And so before we hop into the top 10, we're just going to take a look at some honorable mentions, one for each of us that we felt were just too cool not to mention. And mine is Howl of the Horde. There are a lot of cards like it, but this card is unique in a couple of ways. This card looks an awful lot like Increasing Vengeance. Howl of the Horde has the same problem that Increasing Vengeance had, in that you can only cast it on your spells. However, it can very easily copy a spell twice, because all it requires is that you attacked with a creature. That could be any creature. Also, it's really good in a more aggressive deck, because you're already going to be attacking all day long anyway. Why not go ahead and double or triple one of your huge, maybe burn spells or something like that, and finish someone off?
My honorable mention is Hooded Hydra. I've kind of grown very fond of Snake Tribal. The Edric deck that we did made me realize how fun Snake Tribal could be. So this is a snake, and it's a Hydra, that's already just really cool, and it's green, and I love green. But I just like the fact he's kind of like World Spine Worm, where he's a big threat, and then he dies, and you get a bunch of threats. Only this is a bunch of teeny tiny, annoying little snake threats, and it's just begging to be played in an awesome Snake Tribal deck.
And now for our top 10 commander cards from Khans of Tarkir. At number 10, we have Flying Crane Technique. But this card has a lot of stuff going on with it. First off, its mana cost. This is a really weird spot for something so aggressive. Because in Commander, let's look at what we have in Commander in the red, white, blue area. We have a lot of control stuff going on. Of course, we do have a little bit of aggro in the colors with Ruhan. Kind of opens up a little bit of build space for maybe a red, white, blue deck that is a little bit more on the aggressive side. Because actually, if you think about it, there is more and more stuff in blue that's producing tokens and doing aggressive stuff, and red and white are already an aggressive color combination.
Yeah, I know we've been saying the past few set reviews that blue has been getting more and more tools for aggro, and to me, this card is kind of like the red, white, blue version of Titanic Ultimatum. Do you have a few creatures to turn sideways, you're probably going to win the game. And the thing is, this color combination is really, really good with flyers.
This card is very cool. I think it has a lot of potential to really shake up the way that red, white, blue decks are built and played, because it's a good enough card to make that kind of impact.
At number 9, we have Temur Ascendancy. And, of course, the enchantments that give haste have already been done. But it's really the second clause on this card that puts it over the top. Because getting to draw cards when dudes enter the battlefield in a color combination that was already good at being aggressive, and that they're obviously trying to push as even more aggressive, that's just amazing.
I think the rest of the Ascendancies are good, especially certain types of decks.
I love Mardu Ascendancy.
Yes, yeah. But Temur Ascendancy is especially good because it just seems to fit in almost any rug commander deck that you want to play. Riku can really take advantage of this thing and really abuse it, because for every creature with power 4 that enters the battlefield, he's going to double that creature. So you're going to get to draw 2 cards off of this thing.
Because it doesn't care if it's a token or not.
With Maelstrom Wanderer, he's going to cascade into a few creatures, and so you might not only cascade into some big creatures, but you also will be drawing cards off of those creatures.
I will just make the point that this card is stupidly good with Deadeye Navigator in a color combination that already plays a crap ton of Deadeye Navigator.
We just picked this Ascendancy out from the rest because it just really stuck out to us as being especially good with the color combination in Commander.
You don't have to build around it. You slap it in your deck and you're good to go.
At number 8, we have Warden of the Eye. Now, this guy is a guy after my own heart. I am a huge fan of his Chronarch, Archaeomancer, Mnemonic Wall. Those are some of my favorite creatures in the format. Warden of the Eye sees those creatures, and he ups the ante by, first off, just increasing his power and toughness. But if that wasn't enough, he returns a target non-creature, non-land card. So that's instants and sorceries, that's enchantments, that's artifacts, and that's planeswalkers. Especially in, once again, the red, white, blue color combination. He's a Djinn. Oh, look at the other creature type he has. Wizard.
I hear wizards are good with, what's that land with the tides and the laboratory and
yeah, like it's
the redonkulousness. At number 7, we have the charm cycle. And obviously not all of the charms were created equal, but people love charms. People just like to have cards that give them options. I will say that I think it's between Sultai Charm and Abzan Charm as for the best one. I think all of the charms have at least one really good mode, another fairly good mode, and then a third, like, kind of corner case mode. Some of them go into any deck in their colors, whereas some of the others, you need to be a little more choosy.
And number 6, we have End Hostilities. On the outside, I think it kind of just looks like a lot of other mass removal spells you can play in Commander, except for the little bit at the end, and all permanents attached to creatures. Hello, all you Voltron decks that pack all kinds of swords. Well, End Hostilities ends that. The only other mass removal spell that I think could have been in this list was Dune Blast. Because Dune Blast is a very swingy mass removal spell, because it doesn't remove everything. It removes everything but one, so you can have your one creature, and you can finish someone off with it. It's definitely one of those cards that's flashy, that it can end a game, it's very swingy, but it's 3 colors, and
it's 7 mana.
It's 7 mana. It's definitely something that's going to make some cool stories, but it's definitely not going to be nearly as played or as reliable as End Hostilities. At number 5, we have the Mac Daddy Planeswalker from this set, Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker. As a mono-red player who really is craving good mono-red Planeswalkers to play in my mono-red commander decks, I think Sarkhan is definitely one to consider. He's a much more aggressive Planeswalker. The turn he comes out, he can become a 4/4 red dragon, indestructible flying creature, and swing in for damage immediately, which just, once again, adds to the whole red thing. His other abilities aren't necessarily always going to be used. I could definitely see someone +1ing him, +1ing him, +1ing him, and then ultimating him, because that's still a decent ability in Commander to have. Like, I could see that happening. But I think more people are more likely to just turn this guy into a dragon and swing for damage.
I feel like talking about Sarkhan makes Sorin the elephant in the room, so I will say that we didn't mention him because I felt like he was completely lazy designed. They just flipped the abilities from the original Sorin. I could not justify playing this black-white Sorin over the previous one. At number 4, we have Utter End. Obviously, it's amazing, because we've got all these people with black-white in their decks that aren't made of money, so they don't play Vindicate. But this is one more than Vindicate, but you're trading 1 extra mana for instant speed, and you can exile it. Now, granted, you can't hit lands like you can with Vindicate, but that's often not that big of an issue. I would rather be able to exile a non-land permanent. That just takes care of everything. Black-white was already really good at exiling stuff.
Black-white is the best 2-color combination at removing stuff. It's expensive right at this moment, but down the road, I think it's going to become a little bit more affordable for Commander players. At number 3, we have Ugin's Nexus, and I am really, really excited for this card for multiple reasons. I am definitely a player that's guilty of taking infinite turns or lots of extra turns, but as a player that likes extra turns, I also like this card because it's a way for all decks to stop those shenanigans. But there's this little thing in here that might let you take infinite turns yourself.
Barring shenanigans with it, I like the fact that if I'm sitting there with an Ugin's Nexus in front of me and you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm going to have to remove it because you're looking at the time stretch in your hand, you blow it up, I get another turn before you get to think about any of your extra turns. So even if you do get extra turns, I got one.
And it's such an awesome piece of artwork. I think this card is just a win.
At number 2, we have Villainous Wealth.
This card's ridiculous.
Holy crap. Like, I just love the fact that not only are you getting stuff from your opponents, they don't get it. You notice, too, if you don't cast the cards, they stay exiled. They don't get put back into the graveyard.
So it could still be a really cool just way to mill them out and just keep them from...
Right. This card basically does everything you could want in the color that I see removal, ramp, and counter magic. And it's a May on the casting, so if there's that card where, ooh, I kind of want to cast it, but then it would go to their graveyard and I don't want it to, you can just keep it exiled. So there's no downside to this card. It only gets to be played in what, in my humble opinion, is the best 3-color combination in the format.
Yeah, it can either be played in bug decks or 5-color decks.
Okay, so since R&D is checking to see which cards need to be more ridiculous, we need a wish list in the comments of cards that aren't ridiculous enough.
And at number 1, we have Clever Impersonator. The internet has been abuzz about this card in Commander ever since it got spoiled. Clones are fantastic. Phyrexian Metamorph has become a staple in Commander. Clever Impersonator is also, I'm calling it right now, going to be a staple in Commander. If you're going to put one clone effect in your deck, it really comes down to only 2 cards. Clever Impersonator or Phyrexian Metamorph. Both cards have their strengths and their weaknesses. It's really hard to say. I think Clever Impersonator might be the better of the 2. Just because you can copy Planeswalkers with this, you can copy enchantments with this.
Phyrexian Metamorph has the advantage of being synergistic with Fabricate, Tezzeret, Academy Ruins, cards like that. But I will admit that raw power-wise, Clever Impersonator is better, but Phyrexian Metamorph can be more synergistic with some decks.
There's no doubt about it. If you play blue and you want a clone effect, if you're going to have 1 or 2 clone effects, this is at the top of your list. Getting a hold of this card is going to suck. It's a mythic.
Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous. Oh my gosh. There has been no way, unless you stole someone's Planeswalker, there's been no way to copy Planeswalkers until now.
There is going to be some janky stuff happening with this card.
I think this is going to be a Judge Head Explosion rules card.
I don't know what else to say about it. And that is our top 10 Commander cards from Khans of Tarkir. Let us know in the comment section what cards you're most looking forward to putting in your decks.
Tune in next time as we take a look at the generals of Khans. I'm Brianne.
And I'm Karsten.
And thanks for watching.